Welcome to the Missouri Society of Health and Physical Educators Town Hall meeting, which is sponsored by Heart Zones. The purpose of tonight's Town Hall meeting is to create awareness for school districts as we have been made recently aware of the CARES Act funds made available to school districts in every state, including Missouri. The funds were allocated to every school district as well as to private and charter schools. Additionally, there is a governor's discretion fund, which includes higher education institutions, both private and public, have also been awarded funds. The purpose of these funds is to provide for purchases of technology equipment central to each subject matter area's purpose. As some districts have already allocated some or all of the funds they received, we wanted to make this opportunity available to MOSHAPE members so you can pursue this opportunity immediately. Now, shifting to tonight's town hall format, we will feature a few brief presentations, and at the end of the final presentation, we will have time for a short Q&A. The audience can post your questions using the chat box feature at any time during the meeting, as our president-elect Anna Forcelita will be monitoring the chat box. Now, at this time, I want to turn the meeting over to our MOSHAPE Executive Director, Tom Loughrey, who now will begin with a short presentation covering the basic facets of the CARES Act and how it affects you, and more importantly, your program. Take it away, Tom.
Thank you very much, Guy, and welcome. We're very happy that you could join us on such short notice. This is critically important, and whenever we have late breaking news, whenever we have an issue that we want to bring to you immediately, we send out our email to all members, plus our social media team of Mary Dreemeyer, Guy Danhoff, Chris Staley, puts this out on all of our platforms so that we want you to always be aware of all that is going on and involved and engaged. We want you to contribute in every way possible. So never hesitate to reach out for us, reach out to us so that we can make sure that you are involved. What we're looking at tonight are tech funds for health and PE. And we're going to go through this presentation fairly quickly so that you're aware of the background and what you can do with this. In May, the ESSER funds were awarded to state $208 billion in funds were awarded in this category: economic stabilization, elementary and secondary education emergency relief, that's known as ESSER, and the governor's emergency relief fund, higher education emergency relief fund. You can see that the number that we have up here at the top, $208 billion, is not an accurate number, because in this amount, you can see how incredible this amount of money was done to make available to schools. The purposes of requesting the funding was simply for the purchase of technology to assist instruction and learning. That includes hardware, software dedicated for use to use for board-approved curricula. In other words, your standards, all the things that you have in your curricula that have any benefit from using technology, this can be used for. It's available for both health education, physical education in our context, and as a broader context, it's been open to all subject matters. This is available to everyone. I had nice messaging today with a gentleman by the name of Adam from the Hanover County Public Schools in Virginia. He was successful in obtaining more than $100,000 worth of Heart Zones technology for use in all the schools in the Hanover County Public Schools. We asked him if he would be available to join us tonight, but with late notice, he had other issues to deal with. Here's what you need to do. As a professional, you check with your administrator on who to contact within your district to apply for funds. You ask the finance director how much funding came to your district. And this involves public, private, and charter schools. All can apply. You ask the finance director what steps you need to follow to request the funding. And you then work with your district's HPE faculty to determine what they need to have in order to demonstrate and validate student achievement. Then complete your request following the district protocol that we'll go into in just a minute. But it's critically important that you address the issue that, number one, wearable technology, heart rate technology, will help you validate the fact that during 50% of every class, students are in the moderate to vigorous physical activity category. This is very important for meeting the health needs of children, for showing that if they are in the moderate to vigorous activity range, they will have brain enhancement through this type of activity. We will put out more talking points as we go through this process, and we'll put those out next week more than likely. But there should be very few questions about telling why this is so necessary for you. Then once you complete your protocol, include in your request.
Hey, Tom,
Yeah.
Can I just pause you for a quick second?
Yeah.
Could you hit presentation mode? I just got a couple of messages.
You know, I
It's
looked at
difficult to read
presentation
them.
mode for some reason. This new version that I have, I'm looking at how I can go to slideshow, and it never gives me a presentation mode. That's
Can you go down to the bottom then? You see at the bottom right part, there usually is a button.
that's not it.
Tom, try clicking the play from current slide button. Top left corner.
There we go. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You're fine.
And this can be described a little bit more by Brad in a minute, but what do you include in your request? You go to your finance director, find out if they have money available. And sadly, we found out that the Rockwood School District has used all their money. That's a bummer. But find out, and you should do this tomorrow morning. It'll only take a minute to find out if there is ESSA money still available, and then including your request, the description of the product. And you can get that from the different companies that provide wearable technology, as well as other technology that may be beneficial to you, whether it be microphones for using or playing music in the gymnasium during your classes. Make sure you look at the company website, get the product discrimination, the description that you're looking for, and then why this will be beneficial to student learning. Great examples will be very helpful here. You know, student engagement, the fact that you are able to send information about heart rate to students immediately, to their parents, to have class records of who is achieving and who needs to be prodded a little bit maybe. How this will enhance your teaching. You align with standards, it helps with student engagement. It definitely helps with student achievement because we've got tons of data relating to the role of moderate to vigorous activity and its role with academic achievement. You look at the cost factors. It's not just the purchase of the product, but does the company provide tech support? What kinds of connections do you have to have? How does your district's technology need to be aligned with the products that you're buying? If they're not, who can bring that up to speed? Who provides training Do you just buy a product and then have it dumped on the teachers and sit in the storeroom? No, you need to have someone train the entire staff so that you can use this properly. Then can this be sustainable? Can you replace? What can you do to make sure that this is an ongoing part of your program? And one of the important issues that we face, whether it's in doing photos of children or anything like that, how do we protect student identification? And how can they be protected during the class so that if something is put up on the wall, for example, you don't see that, oh, this is what Guy Danhoff is doing. This is what Anna Forcellito is doing. This is what Sandy Moore is doing. You have to make sure that you have the privacy protections that are so incredibly important. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you. As Guy mentioned at the beginning, we will make this available to you. This is just a quick little one-day synopsis of what it is that you can do. And the person who's really done, we have two people who are going to follow me who have done so much with this. Brad Brummel is the curriculum coordinator for health physical education for the Springfield Public Schools, the largest school district in the state. Brad has done a terrific job in many ways, and we're very happy to announce that he is now the chair of the MOSHAPE Member Services Committee. So we officially welcome Brad to our board of directors. We know that he will provide significant insight. And so Brad, perhaps you can share with everybody on here tonight just exactly what your processes have been in the Springfield Public Schools to make sure that you put in a budget request and get what you'd like to have.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Tom. Would you prefer me to speak specifically to CARES Fund or just in general when it comes to pursuing equipment? Both? Okay.
Yeah.
So CARES Fund is pretty quick. When I found out about the opportunity, I reached out to my supervisor, asked her if she knew anything about it, asked her if she knew who oversees that fund, and she sent me to the director of our business department, which most people would probably call finance, and she communicated to me that that is an ELT decision, which is our executive leadership, that they've been overseeing that fund and that they have most of those funds are spoken for. I'm following up tomorrow with what most is, but they've communicated to me that a majority of that technology funds has been spent on hotspots such as Kajits for students that are learning virtually that don't have internet, and Chromebooks for students that typically in kindergarten and first who would have just iPads at school. They were not working very well for virtual learning at home. And so a lot of those funds were to purchase Chromebooks for them to use at home at that primary level. So that's what I have found out today and yesterday on how those funds were used. And I am following up tomorrow just to be persistent and to see if I can get a specific dollar amount of how much is left and if they have a plan for it. So I hope that helps with the CARES Fund. When it comes to, I guess, pursuing supplies, equipment as a teacher, typically my teachers fall under one of two categories. Their principals either provide them a specific budget per year, and the teachers know that, and they know that whether it's small or big, they know they have this specific amount of money that they can spend per year, or the principal says, you don't have a budget, but if you need something, please let me know. And I think that that's becoming the majority now. And unfortunately, teachers sometimes treat that as, I don't have a budget, but that would be a mistake, because sometimes when you're in that needs category, you can actually get more funds than what the small budget they would have provided you yearly. And so all that comes down to is communicating your why, the amount of funds that you're looking for. And then my always big advice when talking with my teachers is make sure that you include to your principals or your PTAs the impact on the number of students, because that's the one advantage you have as a PE teacher compared to a classroom teacher asking for something. If Guy's a third grade teacher and he's asking for this amount of money for this, his impact on students is 25 students, give or take some. You as the PE teacher, a lot of times that impact number is anywhere from the 300 to 800 number, because you're impacting every student that comes into your classroom. And so you always want to include that number when advocating for funds. Include that number. If it's something that's going to remain over years, include those numbers, right? Include how many of those kids are going to get to use that. And so I think that's one of the biggest advantages that you have. And then some buzzwords that typically always win over the hearts of a PTA or principal is if it's going to help your classes be safer, include that in. If more of this is going to provide more practice and a safer opportunity in physical education, be sure you include those words: opportunity, safer. Those are helping the health and wellness. Anytime you can include those buzzwords in your request, the better off you're going to be. And I would always recommend starting with your building leadership. So start with that AP or that principal. And then if there's no luck there, you can always try your PTA. Most of us in Missouri don't have a coordinator for health and PE. And so that's an option for my teachers, but that's not an option for most in Missouri. And so from there, you would want to search out some community grants or district level administration. But mostly it comes down to relationships and your ability to communicate your story. Because if you have a strong relationship with someone in position to allocate funds, that's half the battle, is that relationship. And so that's obviously, that work's going to come in year after year after year and prior to you knowing what you need. But if you have that relationship, and for example, last year, I was lucky enough with my supervisor to get some end of year funds for Heart Zone sets for some of our middle school and high school sites in Springfield. And that came down to a relationship that I had with my supervisor and her already knowing my story. She already knew what I was pursuing for our secondary PE department. And when I offered her this opportunity to help me with that story, I wasn't starting from scratch. She already knew that I was working really hard to find wearable heart rate technology, to increase engagement and to increase participation. And then when I introduced the opportunity, it was a much easier communication. So I hope that helps for the teachers. Do we have any other coordinators on tonight?
Kimberly Goforth from Columbia.
So I'll give a couple of quick things that have worked well for me as a coordinator, Kim. I try to advocate for equity. And so I see fine arts, I see music getting all of these equipments and supplies. I see our online students getting Garmin's for free in their online PE class. And so I've been preaching for advocacy for our seated PE students. And that's been successful. Also, if I can't afford to purchase wearable heart rate technology for each one of my elementary schools, I'm going to purchase 2 shared sets and let teachers sign up for them for 2 weeks. And then I preach to my elementary teachers, when you have those shared heart rate monitors in your school for 2 weeks, invite your principal down and let them see them in action. And then typically once those 2 weeks are over, me and the teacher will work together and I will send an offer to go 50-50 with that principal to purchase that. And a lot of principals are very willing to go 50-50 in on something. And so if you can find a grant to go 50-50, sometimes that's very helpful as a teacher too. If you can get partial funding with a grant, you can communicate with your principal for the other 50-50. So Tom, if you want me to add on to anything, I don't want to take too much time, but that's the 2 cents that I have as of right now.
Yeah, thank you, Brad. I just sent you